now as well, because the festive season is often seen as a time of joy and togetherness, but for many South African families, it can bring stress and heartbreak. From divorces and separations to grief and loss, the holidays can highlight and intensify family tensions. To discuss this often overlooked reality, we're joined by clinical and transpersonal psychologist Dr. Khosi Jiyane, who will explore the factors behind these family breakdowns and the support available for those navigating these challenges over the festive season. Doctor, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Let's talk about some of those factors behind why we see this happen throughout the festive season and the pressures that are laid on families. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I think Isisu teaches that and puts it very cogently to say, which says that anytime human beings gather, opportunities for difference and conflict are bound. And therefore, the challenge is not so much whether we are going to have conflict or differences or contestations, but it is our capacity to deal with them and deal with them effectively, to mediate and resolve issues, not whether issues will be there, because that is given anytime human beings gather. And so our question is, what is the capacity within our families to recognize that anytime there are such times, such as festive season, where people from different walks of life gather, we are never empty vessels. Each one of us brings our own suitcases of life, of issues, of challenges. And therefore, it is given that there will be those differences. And the question is, how do we anticipate that this is going to happen? How do we will ourselves to an effective communication platform, or to be able to sit around the table as we will to eat our food? How do we sit around the table and talk about effectively resolving the issues? And it is not always just the issues that come up on the day or around the festive season, for example, but there's usually baggage, that we carry during the year or over the years, and even not just over the year, but transgenerationally, that then all come together at this time. So it is a melting pot of issues that congregate around the times when we congregate over the festive season. And again, it comes down to what is the capacity within the family. And generally, every family is a system and people play different roles. And we often find that there is that trusted person within the family who is looked up to as the one that mediates, that brings calm, that brings sanity to such situations. And including, of course, an aggravating factor becomes the consumption of alcohol. And therefore, it really just does compound issues, and it makes it so important for us to be sober about how we deal with these things.
Doctor, I often live by a particular mantra that says, seek first to understand before being understood. And one wonders whether in a time like this, people are seeking to just have themselves understood, as opposed to also trying to understand the other person and hopefully them seeking to do the same, because in that way you'll get a clear and cohesive understanding of the situation, and you perhaps can move forward. How much of that hinders any progress, particularly at a time like this, and maybe you're carrying things from the rest of the year as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. If we seek to understand, it says, that mantra says that we need to have an intent. What is my intention as I get into this time, or as we gather? What is my intention around what's going to happen anytime, we collide or we butt heads, or we are in opposing opinions over issues that really matter to us? And very often, to your point, we want to get our point across, and we become very much jaded in terms of how we are willing to see the other person's perspective, and we look more for wins. And two things that get in the way is who's right and who's wrong, and who wins and who loses, which are very ego-driven approaches to resolving issues. And when that is the approach that we take, it becomes very difficult to be able to will ourselves to hear and understand the other person's point, because really the point is again, another mantra says, in all thy getting, get understanding,
Yes.
which is that, seek to understand, but that is often not the case. And it therefore compounds issues and makes it difficult for us to gain any traction on whatever it is that we don't agree on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have run out of time, but in the interest of that, are you able to just share quick tips, perhaps, to all those who may find it difficult at this time, who may seek a greater understanding of the reasons why they're currently in the situations they're in and how to face them best? Perhaps a quick 30 seconds on that.
I think a starting point is to accept that we are all perfectly imperfect, and we need to give each other and ourselves the grace to know that things are going to get to a head at some point. And I think the aftermath of the festive season is to say, okay, can we give ourselves a second bite at the cherry? Find each of the people that you didn't agree with and say, can we take a fresh look at this so that we resolve issues and don't find ourselves in a similar position next time?
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And I think very important words as well being shared. Clinical and transpersonal psychologist, Dr. Khosi Jiyane, really appreciate it.